Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, or should I call it Blue Justice, and I am from the likes of the Mexi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic Origins, while we're playing through Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, as well as PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. Gee, multiple platforms, huh? So, last time we've essentially managed able to win through 3 zones in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, which are Green Hill Zone, Marble Zone, and Springyard Zone. In addition to those, we also somehow managed able to obtain every single Chaos Emerald in the entire game, so naturally speaking, we're able to get ourselves the best ending of the game once we're able to completely done with Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for sure. So, either way, today for this video is the fact that speaking of finishing up Sonic the Hedgehog 1 in Sonic Origins, well, we're about to be able to hit on to Labyrinth Zone, and eventually Starlight Zone, and Scrap Brain Zone, and eventually the final zone as well. And, yeah, it's gonna be pretty quick though, especially as you can see, we actually discovered the alternative route by simply able to actually come across into ourselves the hidden platform, which allows us to able to take us to the alternative way towards the very end of the level. So naturally speaking, I believe it allows us to able to skip through the good chunks of the level, so relatively speaking, you don't need to worry about drowning too much. In addition to that though, you don't need to necessarily worry about what those cheese block crush you. So relatively speaking, once you take that route, then obviously that'll be the fastest method. So everything else will be pretty much accounted for. So anyways, today's date, of course, is the 12th of February today, in this case in 2023 today. Naturally speaking, for those of you who lived in the UK, it's been 13 years ago since Super Monkey Ball Step and Roll has been first came out since 2010. Gee, I can't even believe it's been 13 years, huh? Well, despite the fact that I haven't exactly touched upon that game for a very long time, since I would classify for saying the last time we touched upon that game was actually back in 2020, marks the 10th anniversary of that game back in the day. Well, apart from the fact that I'm pretty much now used to playing not only Super Monkey Ball 1 still, alongside with Super Monkey Ball 2, and eventually the forms of Deluxe, and especially noticeable with Banana Mania, which I know for a fact that for one thing in mind, that we haven't exactly done any single Super Monkey Ball Let's Play last year, because we just somehow caught off guard with all the tons of announcements back in last year. So relatively speaking though, speaking of certain announcements though, that I suppose we should probably explain more details on that in a moment, because as you can tell, that's how we got ourselves the good old invincibility theme. So, and of course, since we need to utilize air bubbles to survive, so relatively speaking when you stumble across a huge bubble, then it's your chance to able to obtain it as quickly as possible, so, or ASAP, so, oh god, those Orbinons doesn't seem to help me. Come on! Oh, come on! Oh, jeez, that does remind me of something related to Sonic Shorts Volume 8, where basically, though, the air bubble refuses to come out, and because of that, though, that happens on a rare occasions, but either way, though, that's the, I would say the second death so far for Sonic Origins so far, so relatively speaking, though, trial and error usually comes into play these days, so either way, though, hopefully we'll try this again, and hopefully we're able to succeed by this point. Whilst thankfully, the Labyrinth Zone, if you ever played Sonic Origins version of Sonic 1, thankfully though, this entire zone is actually not too shabby this time around, because, relatively speaking though, not only because we can able to actually just to like, well, utilize the drop dash, but also you can now able to use the spin dash onto this particular level, so meaning about the fact that if you're having a hard time with this zone back in the day, well, thankfully you can now able to actually have no issues with it at all, so relatively speaking everything else will be pretty much expected for that point to make things a bit more easier and self-explanatory. And also if you do realize about the fact that, well, what's up with this spinning ring on that bottom right corner anyway? Well, that actually signifies as autosaving, so every time if you like go to the next level, or complete the level, or anything else like that, or obtain the Chaos Emerald, or Time Stones, or Super Emeralds for that matter, basically the game will automatically save. So, in addition to that though, it actually functions kind of like the loading times a little bit. Well, I don't know about you, because it has been about quite a few hours since I actually last recorded this, because like I said before, that the rest of the Sonic Origins playthrough is going to be taking place in the weekends, so don't expect things to make things a bit more lengthy and stuff like that. Well, at least in ever since during the forms of the majority of the Mario Party Let's Plays. In fact, relatively speaking though, about the fact that I think we might as well take a break on Mario Party stuff from now on, because I'm pretty sure we've actually done most of the games anyway, aside from the fact that, for those of you probably wondering, would you like me to able to do a redo Let's Plays of certain Mario Party games? Because I know for a fact that we've actually done the majority of the console Mario Party games, I'm pretty sure. Well, aside from the fact that it does need to have some bit of improvements after all, like, you know what I mean, bad sound mixing, and you probably name the rest, so... But I digress. There's also another thing I completely forgot to mention about during the course of this entire Let's Play for sure, that in addition to able to having ourselves the forms of, well, relatively speaking though, that there's actually the forms of the intro cutscene alongside with the ending cutscene, that from the actual standpoint, whenever we did somehow automatically saw the intro sequence of Sonic Origins as the game itself, alongside with one of those sequences in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, that it does kind of remind me of a similar style as in the forms of not only Sonic CD for a little bit, but also the majority of it has to be by the forms of Sonic Mania, because the actual art style looks incredibly similar to Sonic Mania sometimes, because I know for a fact that I will say these are the best parts of the game, at least to me anyway, despite the fact the matter is though, much like let's say Sonic Mania Adventures, the mini-series of animation, well basically though it's about the fact that every single characters have been muted, aside from able to actually editing, you know what I mean, the classic sound effects and all that stuff though, which to be expected with most, you know, classic Sonic era of games. So either way though, that might be saying something, so anyways, we come straight towards the end of Labyrinth Zone, in this case, approaching onto my least favorite boss in the game still. Well, to be more specifically, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 portion of the game, just because about the fact that I'm not exactly well, a massive fan of this boss. Well, it can be pretty difficult and challenging at times as well. But hopefully we're able to guarantee we can able to do a no damage run, I'm pretty sure. But I highly doubt we're miles able to actually do it anyway, so here we go, here we are again. So, and this time around though with widescreen support, so that way you can able to now see what's up ahead, so... But I digress. So, there's also short things worth noting for is about the fact that, well, apparently though, most people also complains about the forms of this entire compilation is that, well, for certain levels, specifically, it's always located in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 selections of levels, that basically though is about the fact that certain music has been replaced, that once we get into Sonic 3 and Knuckles for last, in during the forms of the story mode, that I'll explain more details about that eventually. So, there we go, Labyrinth Zone is being completed. So now we move on to, without a doubt, is my favorite level in the entire Sonic the Hedgehog 1 game. That is, of course, Starlight Zone. It's nice to be able to go back to this zone again, especially noticeable because, thankfully, with the spin dash is now a thing, and the drop dash essentially as well, so relatively speaking though, everything else will be super fast again. So, also, I should probably point things out is about the fact that we've already got ourselves the Nintendo Direct, as I said it before, but all it needs left now is just about the fact that eventually at some point in this month in particular, we could expect that... Wow, I honestly didn't see that coming. Especially, I somehow accidentally got crushed by the staircase, so, whoops. But that's okay though, because that was the third death of this entire run-through of this entire compilation of this entire... Well, you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, because all he needs left now, in terms of February most likely, when it comes to gaming presentations, and that is of course the Pokemon Presents presentation. especially noticeable because it always happens in every single February with each and every single year. Well, aside from that one in particular exception, that's what appears to be by default of taking place in 2020, because in 2020 we've got Pokemon Direct as the very first Nintendo Direct of that year, despite the fact that, well, it comes off as like unexpected. But either way though, let's not get ahead of ourselves at this point, because we're still on 2023 after all, so... But I digress. And short things worth noting for is about the fact that we've only just got about 4 more days to go actually until the 12th year anniversary of the Mexi Toys YouTube channel. So yeah, pretty excited to see how that's going to be happening. So relatively speaking though, but again, we can't exactly tell you what the events are going to be, but it's going to be super top secret. So in some cases though, you shall see and find out, and join at some point on next Thursday, around the same day as one of those games is going to be releasing. Specifically, like a rhythm-based Final Fantasy game is going to be releasing, so... And what's even strange about this is that we actually stumbled across into not 1, but 2 goal signposts. So I'm not exactly sure why that's usually a thing, but I'm guessing it's more likely depending on the forms of the alternative routes you can able to go into, which I know for a fact that it doesn't usually contain that in the original version of the game. Neither did the god-awful GBA port. So yeah, speaking of the forms of the Game Boy stuff, I was expecting that, you know, Maxi were able to mention more details about the forms of certain announcements they did revealed for the likes of the recent Nintendo Direct that we've already gotten. Well, apparently though, about the fact that what I've noticed for about a couple of days ago actually, that one of those leaks did somehow detailed about the forms of one of those new stuff is also coming during the course of in Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Well, aside from the fact that we've already got the sub-games after all, as well as the forms of, well, you know what I mean with the forms of that, some other quality of life improvements or something like that. But there's also about the fact that they mentioned something related to Mega Lord's Epilogue, which I'm pretty sure it takes place, well, I'm probably not going to spoil things too much, for those of you who actually missed out on the forms of Kirby's Return to Dreamland anyway. So relatively speaking, I'm probably not going to mention more details about that in the meantime. But there's also short things worth noting for is that the Amiibo functionality did revealed for the likes of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, and it's just exactly the same function, as it not only, I would classify for saying Kirby and the Forgotten Land, but also with the forms of, I think it's just almost exactly similar to the likes of the forms of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, where basically though, if you manage to scan in any of those Kirby-themed amiibos, I'm pretty sure it actually gives you some, food for your, item inventory space or something like that. But either way though, that's about it basically. Nothing special. I was expecting they were able to actually bring a special gold themed Kirby, but apparently though it doesn't, so oh well. Beggars elves can't be choosers, I suppose. Especially noticeable every nowadays is about the fact that certain amiibos will get a bit downsized, as far as I'm aware. Well, mind you, about the fact that it's been a very long while since I actually collected something related to Amiibo, because the last Amiibo I actually got was actually based off of Metroid Dread, because of the forms of that energy tank I desperately want to get in Metroid Dread once I come back into that game. So, anywho though. Oh yeah, speaking of Metroid though, although I'll explain more details about that in a moment, because either way though, here we go, face off against with Dr. Eggman in Starlight Zone, and oh, thankfully though, this boss is actually pretty easy. Well, aside from the fact that until whenever it gets to the point until on the mission mode, that there's actually an alternative version of this boss fight, which, either way though, we'll explain more details about that once we get into mission mode. So there we go. Starlight Zone has been completed, so only 2 more zones to go, which there are Scrap Brain Zone alongside with the final zone, and that pretty much does it for Sonic the Hedgehog 1 before we move on to the next game, which appears to be Sonic the Hedgehog CD, according to the forms of the actual timeline goes. Well, not so much by the forms of its official releases, so I'm more referring to as the actual timeline, as opposed to like, well, you know, released by year kind of syndrome or something. So, anywho though, so another thing I should probably point things out is about the fact that, well, Generally speaking though, about the fact the matter is though, well, I can assure you until next month that Piglet's Big Movie alongside with Piglet's Big Game is going to be officially become 20 years old until next month. So, yeah, we should probably expect able to actually celebrate this. I'm not gonna lie, a pretty underrated movie in my opinion, although it does have some very mixed reception to it though, for whatever reason. But aside from all that stuff though, I still find the film very underrated, because I do remember enjoying the film as a kid, but then every nowadays, it might be seems more accurately I realize, it's like, a flashback memories compilation based off from certain stories. You know, just like it informs of how it does it in ever since in The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, including 2011 film, which I know for a fact in the 2011 movie of Winnie the Pooh does manage to contain 2 stories into one huge narrative, which unlike in The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh was actually 3 stories into one narrative. Well, originally though, I still found it a little bit baffling about the fact that they did not include a day for Eeyore in that particular film. My guess is the forms of the budget for it. Well, I'm not exactly sure how do I explain about this, but either way though, let's just go ahead and continue. So of course, to be expected with Scrap Brain Zone, this is by far the hardest zone in the game, just because there are some multiple traps you have to avoid, and in addition to that though, there's going to be a lot of enemies are involved, and I think this is actually the last stage that you will get a chance to get the Chaos Emerald for sure, assuming of course about the fact that if you ever play Classic Mode, then basically though you have to rely on the forms of only one attempt for the special stages in mind. So, whilst unlike, you know, in Anniversary Mode, you can simply just retry these special stages as many times as you wanted to. You know, just like the forms of how it does it in both Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1, as well as Episode 2, if you feel like it. And that can be also applied onto other Sonic games as well, I think, which is, I would say Sonic Generations for the 3DS, or, I don't know, it's been a very long while since I actually mentioned something related to special stages in the Sonic games since, quite a few years now, since in, well, I do know for a fact that for one thing in mind, that, well, I don't know about you, but either way, let's just go ahead and, keep on moving, while trying to avoid those, spiky ball of chains, and just get onto the next section of this particular Scrap Brain Zone Act 2 right here. Don't get crushed, by the way, because otherwise you have to start all over the level again, so... anywho, and speaking of which though, about the fact the matter is though, I'm not exactly sure of what's gonna be up, once the actual, the Pokemon Presents presentation is gonna be up, until at some point by the end of this month, but, I can expect that from the actual predictions, as far as I'm aware, that, well... It's kind of hard to tell, really, because I know for a fact that they might try to reveal something new for Scarlet and Violet, you know, just like the forms of how it does it in Sword and Shield, back in 3 years ago. My guess it will be DLC, or perhaps even maybe the, another remake of, something related to, Pokemon Let's Go series or something. But then again though, time will tell, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, we're pretty much almost at the halfway point in terms of February already, so... Oh gosh, there's a trap floor! Which pretty much sends us to Scrap Brain Zone Act 3, or should I call it, Labyrinth Zone Act 4. Because of, you know, the familiar aesthetics you might be too familiar with, so... But I'm sure we'll tackle for this particular act with a total piece of cake, because now we've actually got, you know, the spin dash, along with the drop dash, that makes the entire level a total cakewalk, so... Oh, stupid little drill-like enemies. I mean, they always come out of nowhere sometimes. Oh, really? I just got hit by that drill part! But anyway, we've made it to the final zone already, so... And it's a nice little transition too, because after when you get launched by the red spring, by the end of the forms of Scrap Brain Zone Act 3, well... Basically what happens is that you somehow managed able to get into the final zone once you're able to get in the air for a little bit. And yeah, that's a nice little transition differences between the original version of Sonic 1 alongside with the forms of the GBA version of the game of Sonic the Hedgehog Genesis, but that's besides the point. So here we go with the final boss in Sonic the Hedgehog 1 again, except now with widescreen support, and in addition to that, we also now have the spin dash. So to make things a little bit more easier for ourselves, thankfully with no lag or anything else like that. So anywho though, so let's just go ahead and although sometimes this particular final boss might feel to be extremely challenging because obviously we have no rings in our hands. In addition to that though, that sometimes the Eggman's spawning points might feel a bit too random, at least depending on what pistons he's actually into, so... But as to be expected, there's only like 8 hits, so... But thankfully though, I've realized that unlike the original version of this boss fight, that I'm pretty sure it did manage to fix something, that basically, if you somehow manage to able to think you're finishing up with Dr. Eggman with the 8th and final hit, but then if you accidentally hit him again, it just goes into the actual endless mode while simply soft locking the game or something like that. Whilst in here though, I'm pretty sure you're able to actually hit him for exactly 8 hits, so there's thankfully no need to able to come across into the actual endless loop mode, I'm pretty sure. But either way, that's as far as I can usually try to describe about the forms of today's discussion. Although, again, I would have liked able to mention something else for this matter though, but I'm pretty sure I'll let Maxie will mention more of any of those specific stuff once he's going back onto Donkey Kong 64, I'm pretty sure, so... Thankfully, dodging those little electricity stuff is actually a lot easier this time, because, you know, with spin dash and everything, because I just seriously love this feature, so... Anyway, so in your face, Eggman, or should I call you Baldy Big Nose Hair, or anything else like that. So, there goes Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on Sonic Origins. So, 1 game down and only 3 games to go. And since we've got all 6 Chaos Emeralds, we get ourselves the best ending of the game, where basically it turns every single portions to make it a little bit more nice and peaceful in Green Hill Zone, like adding more flowers, and that's pretty much as far as this is concerned. But yeah, it's nice able to hit back into Sonic the Hedgehog 1 again, except now on Sonic Origins, but I will say, this is still a definitive way playing Sonic the Hedgehog 1 now, especially because, well, thankfully though, we don't have those archaic design choices, unless if you're able to actually figure out with the level select code. Like, basically though, it's about the fact that there's no weird jump sprite animations here and there, whenever you like jump and then walk at the same time, which I found was a little bit odd, especially noticeable whenever you get into zones like Marble Zone and stuff like that. Yeah, I've come across into that quite a few times, and especially noticeable there's no spike glitches and stuff like that, which I always do appreciate about that specific fix, so... In addition to that though, that I fully appreciate that, as I said before, not only does it include the spin dash, but also with the forms of the drop dash as well. But technically there's also another thing that's a massive improvement over the original version of the game, is that whenever you get into a level select screen, I'm pretty sure there's an option you can able to set it into Sonic 2 style and Sonic 3 style, which means instant shield is going to be in the thing, or should I say it will be in the game. But then again, I'll show this off on the extra videos, I'm pretty sure, because this is just the beginning portion of this entire compilation for sure. But, yeah, that's as far as I can say about it, so... Yeah. Not much else to say. Because, you know, I'll get into more details about the other stuff and during whenever we get to the next Sonic games in this entire compilation. So, in fact, this might actually be the only Sonic compilation game we might as well consider doing a Let's Play of. Because I was originally going to do Sonic Jam, but apparently though I didn't seem able to find that feature to record Sega Saturn stuff. So anyways, I think we've got ending stuff here, so join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic Origins. Instead, we'll move on to the next game in terms of Sonic Origins, and that is Sonic CD. So yeah, everything else goes for all fine and dandy, so I'll see you guys in the next weekend. Later fellas, catch you guys then.